Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Small Biz Chat Live. I'm Melinda Emerson, the small biz lady, and they call me America's #1 small business expert. Right now, I am so excited to bring you my good friend, Shawn Karol Sandy, straight out of Memphis. Welcome.
Woohoo! Hey, Melinda. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. So listen, the sales climate has really changed a lot in the last 5 years. I mean, everyone thinks the internet has made it easier. Has the internet made it easier? Is it harder now to sell?
Well, it depends on which seat you're in. It's definitely easier to be a buyer. And if you can recognize how buying has changed and meet buyers where they are, then you have a leg up and it can be easier to sell. It's all about perspective.
Give us a couple of ways to generate leads for a service business.
Oh, yeah. So think of it like you need to, let's show up where your potential clients are looking for solutions. So especially service businesses, there's always industries, associations, conferences, groups. This is where people go to get information, to ask questions of their peers. If you can show up in those channels and, I like to call it 3 things. Let's be visible, vocal, and valuable to people. And when you do that, it's like you're giving them expectations of what it's like to work with you. When they get to know you in a way, they see you where they show up looking for answers. They see how you speak up and you have something to offer and they find you valuable. That's a preview of what it's like to work with you. So show up where your potential customers are looking for answers. We have to give people wildly different experiences. Give them an experience worth talking about. That's something that they can't get online. That's something they can't get down the street. Give them something to talk about. From the moment they encounter your business, they want to know that they're special, that they're unique. So walk through your competitors' businesses and see, how do they greet you? How do you feel when you walk through the store? Are you a pain? Are you expected to buy something? Like, what kind of expectations are you placing on people? And how can you give them a wildly different experience and make people feel special? People will talk about how they feel special because they want to sound smart. They want to show other people that they've made smart decisions. And when they refer you, then they look smart. So give people those wildly different experiences and they will talk about them. And those are your brand ambassadors. Those are your best salespeople.
If somebody doesn't have a budget, do you refuse to give them a proposal? Like, how do you handle tire kickers?
Okay, this is all about understanding where someone is in their process. And this is what your pre-qualifying process is supposed to do. It's having questions built around, tell me about your pain. Tell me about why you're looking. Why are you looking right now? And what are you hoping to find in your buying process? When you're looking to make a decision, and what other influences impact when you make a decision. And there's also a lot of budget questions you can use in there too. For instance, so tell me about other solutions you've tried before. This is probably one of my best budget pre-qualifying questions is when I ask people what other solutions they've tried before. I can get a really good idea of the price range that they've looked and what they've been willing to spend money on. And another one is, tell me what other vendors you're considering and maybe a little bit about why you thought to choose them.
That's actually really good. I've never thought to ask people like, well, who are my competitors that you might already know? That's actually, I'm gonna write that one down. That was actually good. Now, how do you sort leads? So like, how do you get to the point where you develop sort of like your pre-qualifying process? What does that look like?
Well, if you're in business, if you're already in business, it should start with your most wildly successful customers. The people that you think, man, if I could clone them and make more of them, that would be what I want. And start assessing all the different criteria. What size business is this? What industries are they in? What's their culture like? What's their decision-making culture like? Is it, one decision maker and that's it? Or do they decide by committee? There are just dozens of different factors. Do I want to look at a region? Do I want to work in specific geography? Do I want to work with businesses in this area? So start looking at your successful customers that you want more of and putting that criteria together.
So now, is that almost the same thing as focusing on your niche? Like, is that, I mean, is that also like, okay, like I can remember early on in my first business, which was a video production company, eventually we said, okay, we're based in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Um, 22 of the top 25 pharmaceutical companies are between New York City and Wilmington, Delaware. Perhaps should we focus on the healthcare and pharmaceutical space?
Yeah, yeah. That's very,
I mean, it was like, but I chased other stuff for 3.5 years before my brain finally said, "Where are you located? What industries are booming around you? Where can you really focus a niche? Like, should it be sort of like geographically driven too? Sometimes."
oh, absolutely. I mean, if that is what fits you, what fits your area where you can access those customers, especially if you have, if you're not driving an e-commerce business, you are going to have to physically access customers, then heck yeah, absolutely. That's why I'm in Memphis, Tennessee, home of agribusiness, home of cotton, lumber. So my clients that we work with are mature industries and highly commoditized, highly competitive industries. I know that. Here's the other thing. I don't go chasing SaaS businesses or, really large enterprise businesses. They're not my region and everyone else is chasing them. So by knowing and pre-qualifying my niche, I'm able to convert in a smart way.
And that really, really makes a lot of sense. All right. So I've got my leads. What else needs to happen in my sales process?
Okay. So here's something that is really smart. If you have got your leads and you're always in a process of pre-qualifying, every stage, you're just consistently pre-qualifying people further on down the funnel. Because if you get to a certain point, like, oh, they look good, and then you continue on down, you realize, well, they really don't have the budget. They look good, they have the budget, but you know what? They're really not the right time frame. You need to continue pre-qualifying. And most important, after deciding this is the target that I want to go after, they look like a good lead. It's, if I'm going to engage this client, I need to understand how they make decisions. Every company, every business has a different way they make decisions. You cannot put these cats in a box. It's like herding cats, right? But understanding that is super important. Do they make decisions unilaterally? Most purchases in an organization now cross so many different business silos. Say you want to do a marketing product. Well, that crosses IT. You need to understand who's involved in what their process is to make decisions.
Sure, sure. Well, you know what? I've got one more question for you. What is the best advice you can give a business owner now who's ready to rev up their sales?
The best advice. If you really and truly deep dive into who you want as a customer, this notion of pre-qualifying, you actually become more magnetic and start attracting those ideal customers too. Because once you narrowly define, and I mean be specific, there is someone for everyone. I don't care how specific you go, there is someone for everyone. But if you can narrowly define that and then reverse engineer what you've done in doing your pre-qualifying, take that criteria, take those assessments, and start including that language in your sales and marketing messages. You're speaking directly to your target audience, and you just start pulling them in. It's by doing more pre-qualifying and understanding your target audience, you start speaking their language and you become magnetic at getting them in, which, by the way, takes less time to pre-qualify, and you convert them to clients at a higher rate.